what do we have next for question?
Next question is from Jack Desmarais, which if I said your name wrong, I am sorry. I am a 17-year-old and have a dream to open my own kennel one day. I just got a job helping a trainer part-time. Do you have any suggestions as to what I should do in the future to get started in the dog world? This is a really good question and probably one that we get asked fairly frequently. Ethan actually had a phone call very recently, the other day actually, from a young kid that was asking
just
questions.
last night.
Oh, was it just last night?
Yeah, it was just last night.
My days blend together. About getting started and kind of talking about what that actually entails.
Yeah, the biggest thing with it is, first of all, for the young man that called, he probably got an earful more of information than he was actually anticipating. I'm a big advocate for young entrepreneurs. I was one as a little boy, and I like to help young youth that I see a little bit of that spunk or fire or drive, desire, things like that in. So never hesitate to reach out. If you're watching this right now and you are interested, reach out to us. I'm happy to help. So we talked about last night a lot of different things to go in because this specifically, and it goes hand in hand with the question that was asked here, but he was talking about wanting to breed and wanting to sell trained dogs and wanting potentially to be able to train dogs. And he's got a YouTube channel. He called and asked about us collaborating on a hunting video, and it was kind of a cool conversation. And what I ended up posing back to him was just a number of different questions. Like,
have you thought about these things?
Have you thought about these things?
There
Yeah, exactly.
is a lot to think about. And I definitely think that it seems very glamorous, if you will, to be a dog trainer, to be outside, working the dogs, getting to do what you love. And that is very true. But there is a lot of hard work that goes into running a business as well as running a business that revolves around live animals.
Step one, do you like dog poop?
Yeah. Everyone's like, well, I love dogs. Well, there's a lot more that goes into just loving dogs. You got to love the poop. You got to love the puke. You got to love the mess and the dirt and the not so fun times when dogs get hurt or injured and you have to get to the vet and things like that. Those things happen. And you have to be willing to take on all of that responsibility. And it sounds like, Jack, you are starting in the right direction. We always recommend going and working or training or interning for another trainer, another kennel, definitely a kennel that you would want to be a part of, that you see is doing things right, the way that you think that they should be done, and then learning as much as you can from that experience. And you might learn things that, hey, this is the perfect setup. This is exactly how I want to do things. Or you might learn a little bit differently and say, hey, this is a really cool idea, but I think when I want to do this, if I just tweak it a little bit, it might just work better. And those might be ideas that you can bring up to your employer, and they may be willing to work with you on those new ideas. I know we are always open to new ideas from our employees because, yes, we've been there, done that for a very long time, but you can always learn new things, try new things, and improve upon your training facility, your training program, all of those things.
If you aren't learning, you aren't trying. I mean, that's
right.
all there's to it. Anybody that thinks they know everything is fooling themselves. Now, I will say you're definitely in the right direction, like Kat mentioned about going and apprenticing, but be upfront and be honest with the person that you are working with. It's, hey, this is my goal to do these things, and I think that'll take you a lot farther in this process of
honesty, integrity.
Yep. And
Very
saying,
much so.
I'm looking to potentially do this on my own someday, but I want to learn and I want to do it right. And putting in the time, like any type of apprenticeship, before you actually start taking money from people is the best policy. I mean, it's one of those things that it's a big occupation and it takes a lot of time, a lot of dogs, a lot of experience to be able to learn the ins and outs, and you'll never know it all, but you need a good start before you start taking money from people. And
watching our YouTube channel is a great start, but it's not all that you need to go out and start taking money from people to start training dogs. And even just having your own personal dog that you've trained to even a high level of excellence, that's great. But I think that what people sometimes struggle with in the future then is they may have had that once in a lifetime dog or that dog that was super natural and super trainable, because there's dogs that are natural, there's dogs that are trainable, and then there's dogs that are both. And if you luck out and you happen to have one that's both, it kind of makes training dogs seem pretty darn easy. And then you get the ones that are not natural and not trainable, and you still have to end up working with them, helping them to become the best dog that they're capable of being, because you've promised to their owners that you're going to be able to succeed with their dog.
Yes. Search out some problem dogs, a dog that says this dog's gun shy, or this dog is bird shy, or this dog has, zero drive or desire to retrieve or for birds, or just take some of those dogs and learn how to help them through to get them to the next level. And we've talked about before, and I'm still a strong believer that every dog has a ceiling, and that maybe their introductions or their beginning levels of training, how they started out could affect where that would be, or the person that's actually training them can affect, a better trainer handler is going to get a dog farther than a beginner novice, just from the sheer understanding and experience. Yep. But at the same time, if you can take one of those quote unquote problem dogs and help them to succeed to some degree, that's going to make you a better trainer. I mean, that's going to help prepare you for what's going to come through those doors of, hey, please help us get Sparky, or in our case, a lot of times Gunner. No
it's
offense.
A very, very popular dog name.
It's just a popular name. I mean, there's been times where we've had 4 or 5
Gunners at the same time in the kennel.
Yep. So we've got Big Gunner, Liver Gunner,
White Gunner,
Black Gunner, Old Gunner,
Wire Hair Gunner. You just throw in all the extras to describe the dog.
But search out some of those dogs that are struggling with things and find ways to help work them through things. Think outside the box. All right, this is the set path. How do we change this? Modify
you have to be able to adapt
to fit this dog. This dog's showing this. How can we use that to our advantage to get them to point Z, whatever?
Yeah. So the more experience you can gain, the more resources and information you can take in and learn, not only from watching training videos, but just, listening to podcasts and things like that. There's a lot of really great information out there on training dogs. And then deciding, what your ultimate goal is. If you plan on being a trainer, if you plan on, we talked, like I said, Ethan talked yesterday about, trained dogs, and
we broke down this young man's 13 years old.
And that's something that I was just you can finish that part. Looking at it, because you want to be a trainer and you want to have your own business, but you also have to be able to pay the bills. And if you look at live animals, they're a 24/7, 365 responsibility. So if you want a little bit of time off after a while, having the right people that you can hire as part-time help to give you some breaks from that kennel life is important, but you have to be able to pay their bills as well. You've got paychecks to write. And so you need to make sure that you are planning ahead your business properly. And that's where the rest of this came in. Sorry.
Yeah. So he mentioned multiple times that trained dogs were his deal. He was going to be breeding. He wanted to breed Labs, Goldens, Shorthairs, maybe Brittany's or something. He had several collection. And I said, well, if you watch any of our videos where we specifically talk about how to find the right breeder for you, we say red flags on anybody that's producing multiple, especially more than 2 types of different hunting dogs.
It's just really hard to give them all justice and learn about testing requirements and health requirements for all of those different breeds.
It's a lot to do one breed. It's a lot to do multiple breeds. So I just feel like it's one of those situations you're better off with trying to do something right versus trying to shotgun effect and hopefully you hit the board somewhere. So then the other side of it, we kind of broke down, well, if you have trained dogs, he said, well, what could I sell them for? We go over that. This would be kind of a rough to mint number depending on your market and all of these things. He said, wow, that sounds like a lot of money. I said, okay, well, it does, but now we need to break this down. Okay, so we've got to feed the dog. If you're taking this puppy from your program, you're not making that money on it as a puppy, so you've got to take that out of the cost of your trained dog. Or you got to buy this dog from someplace else, so it's going to cost you the same either way. And then you have to take it to the vet. You have to feed it. You have to do anything that happens from a accidental standpoint to help keep the dog healthy and do all of the things right by the dog. And then you divide out what's left by the number of months it's going to take you to get there. And I was like, comes out to, I don't know, I was helping him. I was like, you got to do this math for me.
It was like a couple $100 a month.
Less than that with what the specific, I think it was like $120 a month is what we came up to with. And he's like, oh, I said, do you think you can live off $120 a month? You know, and of course he's 13. So $120 a month probably still sounds like a fair amount of money. But I said from a, professional standpoint, we've got to look at these other things. And if you and your, I think, cousin or something want to do this and make a living, we've got to look at some other stuff. So it was cool to have the conversation, and I hope that it was well received. But ultimately, it sounds like you are headed in the right direction, and the more experience you can gain before you jump out there on your own, the better off you are.
And just looking at it from the whole picture of not just this, romantic, glamorous, I'm a dog trainer point of view, but looking at it from a realistic responsibility point of view, as well as a financial point of view, because we all need to make a living. We all need to be able to pay our bills. And if you can't plan out your business plan accordingly, you're not gonna be able to
be successful.
pay your bills. Exactly. So great question, Jack.